Call us on 03030 80 55 55. Tweet at BBC Talkback, text 81771 or email the programme talk.back@bbc.co.uk.
This half hour of the programme, should amateur football referees be given body cameras to protect them from abuse? Has it really come to that? Well, a campaign has started in England calling for amateur football referees to be allowed to wear body cameras. Ryan Hampson, the 18-year-old who's now petitioning Parliament, says he's been forced to act due to the abuse he's received. Ryan's on the line with us now. How you doing, Ryan?
Okay.
So it's come to this, has it? And how rough is it getting out there?
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, in all honesty, I've not been assaulted for the last year and a half. However, I did start a campaign back in March in England that it ended in 2,000 referees going on strike for one weekend because they're not happy with the protection that they're getting.
Tell me about some of the stuff that has happened.
So I've been headbutted, I've been punched, and I've been spat at while being on the pitch. It weren't a nice experience. Hence the reason of starting this petition for referees to be enabled to wear body cameras.
You talk about parents there?
No, I'm talking about players. I do open age football. Don't get me wrong, when I first started out refereeing, I started doing kids football, and it was just parents that had an absolute issue. And you know what the thing is as well, the players are actually fantastic in kids football, and the players at half the time get annoyed when they see the parents going mental thinking they're the next Messi. They're
headbutting referees and spitting at them.
Yeah, well, in open age football, there's a lot of passion, but there's a line that you cross.
Yeah, that's called criminality. That's criminal assault.
You can't be doing that, can you?
No, of course not.
Players are doing it thinking they can get away with it, and on occasion they are getting away with it.
What's been the reaction of other amateur referees to this suggestion that body cameras might be the way to deal with it?
It's been fantastic. I mean, there's a petition on change.org called #BodyCamsNow, and we've had over 1,000 signatures already. It's only been up 72 hours. So there's only 16,000 referees in the UK. I've had a lot of good feedback from not just referees, but from refereeing bosses at the FA. There's a lot of people who are saying, it's a fantastic idea, and we are going to be implementing it on Sunday. I've sent an email to figureheads at the FA in London, and I've stated that I've said to them many times over the last 10 months, what would happen if I went out on the pitch and wore a body cam for my own protection? And under Law 5 at the moment, it states that referees are not permitted to wear electronic equipment. However, I've asked that question. I've never got a solid answer. So I did email the FA last night and stated, I've been in touch with both teams. I'm refereeing on Sunday. I've been in touch with the league. It's been authorised by the league and the both teams, and I will be wearing a body camera this Sunday. And I've not received anything back. And, I could get suspended. It's a likelihood. But I'm willing to take that risk for my own protection.
Well, I wonder if this is something that we should be considering here as well. I don't know what it's like for amateur referees in Northern Ireland. It sounds pretty rough where you are. Which part of England are you in there, Ryan?
I'm in Manchester.
Yeah. It's sounding very rough. What happens to a player who headbutts a referee in the amateur leagues? Well,
since we had meetings with the FA back in April, June, there was mandatory bans that came in place. So anyone who assaults a referee now, and it's proven, will be given a minimum 5-year ban. However, we still don't think that's good enough. We think anyone who assaults a referee should not be allowed back on a football pitch again. But, we're happy with the 5 years for now.
Let me introduce you to a couple of other guests, Ryan. We've got Tim Waring here. He's Academy Director with TW Braga. Coaches young football between ages 6 and 16. And Brendan Mulgrew's also with us in the studio. He coaches GAA for under-16s. And you're all welcome. Welcome to the studio. You're not so impressed by this idea as a way of dealing with it, though, Brendan, are you?
Well, no, I admire Ryan's activism, and clearly he's come across some very difficult situations on the pitch. But I'd much rather see encouragement and encouraging young people and young children especially to respect referees, to respect the decisions of referees. And I would like to see referees perhaps made a bit more forceful in how they go about punishing such abuse when it does happen on the pitch. I mean, I do. I'm involved in GA, but I go to soccer matches too. My own kids are playing, and sometimes foul language, abusive language goes unpunished. And I think the rules allow for a yellow card to be shown if such language occurs. Too often it doesn't happen, and of course that creates the atmosphere that, well, I'm going to get away with this. This is okay. So I would sooner see kids being told, you know what, it's wrong to abuse a referee. It's not the right thing to do. We need to respect them. Tell them that from a very, very young age, rather than saying, listen, guys, don't abuse a referee because he's wearing a camera and you get caught. To me, that's the wrong message.
Presumably, Ryan, you've tried that, the yellow cards, the red cards and stuff, haven't you?
Okay, if I just go back onto what Ted's just said then.
Yeah.
Ted, what it is, right?
This is Brendan.
Oh, Brendan. Sorry, Brendan. At the moment, Brendan, we're not looking at bringing this into the kids' game right now. This is something we're looking at bringing into the grassroots adult game. So open age game. On the kids' game, I fully appreciate and agree with what you're saying. You know, there's some referees who do referee, and we're not. You know, I'm not going to stand here and say that every referee is fantastic, because they're not. There's some that really do make it difficult for others that go out the weekend after them, and I fully appreciate that. Now, what we're looking at doing is bringing this into the open age game, where they've been playing football for years. They know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah, they should know better.
And you know that they're still going about doing the exact same things that they've been doing for years.
Do you take Brendan's point though, Ryan, that you could use the yellow card, you could use the red card more often?
We do, but sometimes it just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So this would only be used as another deterrent. You know, this genuinely would only be used for another deterrent. It's not to threaten anyone. Say, yeah, we're wearing a camera, so don't do anything because you know it's on camera. That's not what it's there for. It's there just for our own protection and another deterrent to maybe stop the player before he does anything.
Tim Waring, it's pretty bad when we even have to have this conversation about protecting referees in amateur games. Obviously, you work with younger people. Have you had any experience, particularly of parents, I guess, at the younger age groups?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, must be mindful, there's hundreds of games goes on every weekend with no problem at all. Obviously, though, sometimes when these incidents does raise its head...
That's all we talk about, of course.
Exactly. And I think what Ryan says, I think it's a good idea. Both from a point of view to give the referee more protection, but I think from an educational tool as well. I mean, me focusing on developing kids, we're also looking at developing referees, and we've got some great young referees coming into the game, and it's important that we protect them because we don't want them to, be put off the game.
Yeah, but then you've got some child protection issues with the younger kids as well, with a camera involved, that we normally wouldn't permit the use of cameras around younger
I suppose
kids.
it all depends on each club. I mean, our club, we've got different codes of conduct for how coaches should behave, how parents should behave, how players should behave. It's no good having these unless you manage them. So if we ever have the rare occasion that a player maybe doesn't give respect to the referee or behaves in a poor way, we will bring him off the pitch.
What's the worst kind of stuff you've seen?
Over the past 20 years of coaching, there's one there a couple of seasons back.
You started about 12 or so? How old are you?
38 now.
Right.
But under 14 football, there was a manager that was sent off by the referee. He was asked to leave the pitch, and about 5 minutes later, there was a tackle went in, referee handled a fine, and this manager who was sent from the field managed to sprint, jump over a 4-foot respect line and came onto the pitch to confront the referee, which is absolutely bonkers, and subsequently the game had to be called off early. And I'm a firm believer in terms of how the managers behave in the touchline results in how his players behave and how the parents or the spectators behave as well. So if you've got a manager who's calm on the touchline, you generally will see that the parents will be pretty calm as well. And I think the clubs have got to take the responsibility to ensure that the respect is there for the referee from not just the players but also from their coaches and also the parents that are watching.
Somebody's texted in there that says, a referee for 35 years, this is a silly idea. Not everybody's impressed with it. Other people think it's a desperate move, but it may be necessary to protect some of these referees if they are experiencing this kind of mistreatment and abuse and criminality. Let's call it for what it is. When someone goes up and headbutts a referee, that is a criminal assault. You're not talking about a red card there. You're talking about someone being carried away in a police van in that situation. What about referees in GAA? Is there a respect problem?
Thankfully, I've never seen any sort of physical abuse of a referee, but there's no doubt that at times, passions are high, tempers can get flared, and things can be shouted at a referee. I've come across referees being verbally abused, but I would reflect on what Tim was saying as well. And especially young kids, William, they take the lead from their coaches, and the parents on the sideline take the lead from the coaches too. I think the attitude and the behaviour of kids on the pitch will reflect the attitude and behaviour of how they've been coached and how they've been brought up to play the game. And the last thing we'll say to our kids before they go out to play a match in any age group is, whatever the referee does, whatever the referee says, you might think he's wrong, you might think he's made a wrong call, but you respect the referee and you walk away from the situation.
You've had situations of referees being hit in the back of the head with hurley sticks. You had a situation last September, I'm looking at it here, where an off-duty police officer in Sligo had to step in, intervene to protect a referee who was being abused by supporters at one particular match. So we also understand from GAA headquarters, they don't collate nationally. They don't collate details, statistics about the incidents of abuse against referees. Maybe it would be helpful if they did.
Yeah, it undoubtedly can happen, and just last weekend at club games up in Derry, there was footage, and in Armagh there was footage of some unruly behaviour. But as Tim has said about the soccer, 99% of games go by without incident and without controversy, and referees handle them well and are treated well. But of course, it's those negative examples that do get brought up. And I understand that. I understand why. But kids and players will reflect how they're brought up to play the game. I think that's a key point.
Ryan made the point about, I think he said Rule 5 to do with wearing electronic equipment. That was the rule number, wasn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, Rule 5. When
it comes to GAA, is there anything in the rule book that would prevent a referee who chose to wear body cameras or a body camera?
I just don't know the answer to that, William. Not being that overly familiar with referee's guidebook, I just don't know the answer to that, actually.
Let's go to Stuart and Clocker. How you doing, Stuart?
Good afternoon, William. I'm coming from a background of, I have been a coach from the under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, and minors from the early 90s. Sorry, the late 90s. And we always instill in our young people that any lip to referee or any back chat, when the referee makes a decision, his decision is final, you won't change it. Any lip or any bad chat, you'll be sitting on the sideline beside us. Thanks to the under 12s, under 14s, do listen to that. Minors sometimes can be a bit more cheekier. But I just want to back the referees here as a coach myself. These men, sometimes they're refereeing games midweek. They're coming home, they probably don't even get their dinner. They're grabbing their kit bag. They're probably still in their work clothes. They're heading off to referee a championship or a league match, maybe 20 miles away. And nobody in any shape or form should be abused or should be verbally abused or physically. And it has a knock-on effect when you go to watch your senior team or your club play. Then people want to know why we don't get a good referee. We don't get a good referee because the younger referees who are coming through, they're put off.
Have you known of any referees to just give up, say, I'm fed up with this abuse, I'm away?
Well, a referee in my own club, he was getting great benefit from it. He met a lot of people through it. Our own referee, at the minute, according to the referee, he says that, you meet a lot of good friends. But one of the club referees decided, the worst referee, and he thought it wasn't senior level, it was underage, the parents.
Stuart, thank you very much. A number of other people are saying that as well. When it comes to younger age groups, it can be the parents who are the problem. Actually, the kids are pretty well behaved. It's the parents who are probably too invested in how their kids getting on the pitch.
Is that a league meeting there Monday? And it was told there from one of the officials from the Irish FA that they have done studies, and his phone from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock on a Saturday is constantly, he's got issues to deal with. Whether that be from swearing from the touchline, whether it be from coaches, or whether it be from parents. And he actually did a couple of studies and asked the kids, and it was crazy that about 80% of the kids would rather play without the parents watching. The kids would rather sit the AQE exams than play football with their parents watching, So I think that sometimes these parents can be professionals during the week, and then all of a sudden on a Saturday morning the red mist sets in. But the
red mist sets in.
It's just crazy to see how some of them behave, But a big thing is we need to give these referees respect. They're only human. They're going to make mistakes. Like the kids are going to make mistakes.
Can you give a free kick following an incident where someone verbally abuses a referee?
And the referee can then caution the player.
But beyond that, can you advance the other team as a punishment for someone in one team verbally abusing the referee? That might have some effect.
Quite possibly. I've heard before.
Is that within the rules?
Was the rules that were talked about where, if there is...
Ryan, is that within the rules?
Maybe the free kick forward 10 yards, maybe?
Yeah. Is that within the rules, Ryan? You could give a referee can say, that's it, that's verbal abuse, the other side's getting the free kick.
Never heard of that myself.
No.
Not in English Football Association rules. I don't think there's a law of that.
They'd certainly wake up after that one, wouldn't they? William's there in Glengormley. How you doing, William?
Hello. I want to take us back about 60 years ago when I played outside left for the Shankle Amateur football team. We were playing a team, we don't want to mention their names, but they were big countrymen. I was only 8 stone, about 5'2", and those lads were beating us about 4-0 as about 35 minutes gone. The next thing, the referee ordered us a penalty, and one of our players went up to take the penalty, and this big man came along and says, "What are you doing?" And the fella's looking up at him. He says, I'm going to take this penalty. And then the referee come on the scene. He says, oh, yes, sir, entitled to that penalty. And before you knew, the referee was hitting the chin and knocked out. So,
what did he get for that?
Well, he got a life sentence.
A life sentence? Banned for life?
I'll not mention the team.
We didn't send him recovery. He was banned for life.
He was banned for life, yes. And we got the 2 points.
And you got the 2 points.
Which we had no chance of giving.
It worked out pretty well for you.
It happened in those days too. And while referees has a tremendous job, but a good referee will always get the applause of both teams. A good referee.
Just by being fair. Thank you very much. Michael's in Dungannon. Hello, Michael.
William. Hello. I've been refereeing for 35 years, and
what have you been? What kind of refereeing have you been doing, Michael?
Well, mostly in Canada. I'm now over here, and I'm just doing kids games now. But in my
is this
career,
football or is it ice hockey? I'm thinking ice hockey.
No, football.
All right.
Football, not ice hockey.
Canadian.
But in my career, I've only ever abandoned 2 games in my life, and both of them, one was in Canada, one was here. Both of them were under 11 matches.
Let's go to the bank.
Because of the parents and the coaches.
Because of the parents' behaviour?
Yep. One of them, the one over here, was the coach and the assistant coach, who happened to be the father and the grandfather of one of the players. So they were throwing water bottles at me.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And I abandoned the game and went to the league, and they gave him a 6-month suspension. And I said, that's good enough. And the league did do well. They turned around and gave him a 6-year suspension, because they openly admitted they were throwing the water bottles at me.
That's an expensive bottle of water, isn't it? Yep.
It is. But get back to Ryan's thing. I don't really think they need cameras. I know what Ryan's saying, but the biggest issue, I think, in England and in Northern Ireland for men's games is that referees are out there on their own. There should be 2 assistant referees at every game, like linesmen, so that you're not there on your own. There's 3 of you there.
Thank you very much. Very good idea. Thank you very much, Michael. Really interesting. And that's not the case normally, is it, Tim?
No. Cup finals you'll get up, but week to week it'll just be the referee.
You just can't get the personnel, though, can you?
Personnel's a problem, but also as well expense. I mean, we're paying, the clubs would be paying about £15 each for a referee, so the referee would be getting £30. If you're out in linesmen as well, it would just end up being astronomical, the costs as well.
Not exactly Premier League money, mind you, but if money's tight, money's tight.
I mean, I think from the other angles.
Let me just go to Roger here. Roger's Macrophil. He's been waiting for a while. How you doing, Roger?
How you doing?
You're a rugby player, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not even a rugby follower, but I do watch, the major games. And as far as I can see, all rugby players have respect for the referee at all ages and levels. You know what I mean? And I am a football supporter. And right now, the abuse referees take from the public, never mind the players.
If that's the case, Roger, how do you explain that? There's more respect in rugby.
I don't know where it's instilled into the children from an early age. I do not know. But it's unreal. And the young lad there is talking about the cameras. Rugby referees do wear cameras at times.
Yeah.
You've seen that yourself, probably.
Yeah, they've got some of them got body cameras.
And if a player walks up to him and speaks, you can hear you
can hear the conversation. Of course you can. Yeah. Thank you very much, Roger. Is that evidence that this could work? What's happening in rugby? The body camera, the electronic equipment.
I must admit, I'm not a big rugby fan, but now some of the matches I've seen, as he says, you can hear the players talk and the referee talk, which is quite interesting. And I think from a education too, as Ryan saying, maybe it's interesting that referees can watch back their own performance. That's another benefit as well.
Final call. It's Robert in Crossgar.
All right. As similar to that last comment, really, if football players had the same respect as rugby players, then there wouldn't be that problem. And
where does that respect come from in rugby that you think is lacking in football?
Right from day one in school.
In school, they're taught it. Thank you very much, Robert. Is that your judgment too, Brendan?
Yeah, I think a big thing is when young kids watch adult international rugby matches, but they see the same respect given. And if you watch Match of the Day, you see Premiership players shouting at the referee all match long, and they think that's okay for me to do that. Then different culture.
Brendan Mulgrew, Tim Waring. Thanks also to Ryan, who joined us earlier. Ryan Hampson, who has that petition going. Thanks to all of you guys. That's it from us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Here's Hugo.